Okay. Hey, today we have Todd Hurley. He has now transitioned from the role of interim president to president of the St. Paul Port Authority. This is after more than 30 years of working for the city of St. Paul and a few years as the CFO and COO of the Port Authority. Hey, Todd, thanks for being here.
Hi, JD. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So how did you find your way into the Port Authority and now this role as president?
So the opportunity to come to the Port Authority, I should start by going back into history of my time with the city of St. Paul. So I spent, like we talked about, I spent over 30 years with the city of St. Paul, born, raised, educated, employed for the city in the city of St. Paul. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about my role in St. Paul was the economic development opportunities that I got to be part of. And some of the most successful things that I was able to work on while at the city itself were projects in which my partner over at from the city was the St. Paul Port Authority. So for many years, I managed the relationship between the city and the St. Paul Port Authority. That being said, when a challenging project would come up that we in the city would want to get done, my first phone call was always over to the St. Paul Port Authority. Whether it was the Saint Stadium, CHS Field down in Lowertown, whether it was the creation and construction of the police training facility over on Lafayette, or if it was the actual soccer stadium where the Loons now play, the St. Paul Port Authority was always my first call to ensure that whatever project we were working on was going to be a success. So that's really where the relationship for me started with the Port Authority.
Yeah. That's great. So that relationship's been ongoing for a while. Let's lay some groundwork. What does the Port Authority do?
So the Port Authority's mission is basically that we are here to create quality jobs, to expand the St. Paul tax base, and to serve as an economic development agency in the city, concentrating on equitable and sustainable development in St. Paul and actually throughout the state of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. There are ports also. Is there something with
Yes.
ports?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we also manage and maintain the 5 ports on the Mississippi River here in St. Paul.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, JD, 4 ports.
Are you editing?
Yeah.
No, this is live. We can cut some of it if necessary. So I know Hillcrest, the Heights, is that the name of it? Is one of the Port Authority's main focuses right now. Can you tell me a bit about that project and kind of what makes it unique?
Yes. One of the things to start with about the Hillcrest golf course, now the Heights, and one of the reasons that I'm very excited to be here at the St. Paul Port Authority is I actually grew up about 5 houses away from Hillcrest Golf Course.
Sure.
And so I had the opportunity to caddy at Hillcrest Golf Course in the 6th grade. I've actually had the opportunity to play to be a part of the Hillcrest community for almost my whole life. That being said, the opportunity on Hillcrest came several years ago when the golf course ceased functioning as a golf course and basically became 112 acres of a vacant property, closed golf course. As you think about that property and that location in St. Paul, it did not lend itself well for the private development community to come into there because of the challenges on the site. When we looked at that property, a couple of things that you would notice right away is, number one, we found out early on that the property itself did have some pollution on it. The groundskeepers on that course were using basically a mercury-based fungicide to fertilize the course, and so that actually contributed to the pollution on the site. In addition, the topography of that site is extremely challenging for development. Hence comes the St. Paul Port Authority in, again, in our mission around taking distressed land and creating a higher and better use with jobs and tax base. the Hillcrest opportunity was perfect within our strategic plan and our mission for the Port Authority.
Yeah. Are there things with Hillcrest or other other projects that the Port Authority is capable of that maybe different organizations or companies wouldn't be capable of? Like, what can you do as a Port Authority that others can't?
So I think the key opportunity that sets the St. Paul Port Authority apart from other agencies is our skill set and our ability to take distressed property that has challenges like the topography and the pollution, and use our partners and our tools to take that property, remediate it, grade it, and get it to a shovel-ready site to create economic development. Again, going back then to our mission around the opportunity here to take the site, which is vacant, and get it to a jobs producing and a tax base producing property in St. Paul.
Sure, which includes presumably a lot of partnering with the city and the county and the
So
private market also.
our partners will go in this project. I can imagine that our partners will be not only the city of St. Paul itself, but Ramsey County, the state of Minnesota, potentially even the federal government for things that we would like to work on that site.
Mm-hmm. How does the Port Authority fund the projects that it works on? Where does the money come from for the Port Authority?
Yeah, so the funds for this project are going to come from a variety of sources. We will work with our partners at the county and at the state for remediation funds to help take care of the pollution that we'll have on the site. We also do have access to certain economic development funds that we'll use, including something that happened at the state legislature around the jobs bill. So we can use temporary tax increment financing from our other districts to help fund the infrastructure. We were in the bonding bill this year at the state, and we asked for $12 million to help with the infrastructure. As you know, that bonding bill did not happen yet this year, but I anticipate that we'll go back next year and talk to the state and see if there's any availability for funds there. And another big source that we're going to use for this project is actually proceeds from land sales. Right now, it's contemplated that a good part of the property on that site we will sell at market rate to light industrial developers, to housing developers, and in turn use those funds to assist us with the construction of the infrastructure on the site.
Yeah. Are there things besides the heights that the St. Paul Port Authority has its eye on?
Yeah, there are a couple other things that we have our eye on right now, JD. And as of this minute, I am under certain rules and regulations that I'm not going to be able to share those with you. But once we get those types of properties under contract, I will make sure that we reach out to you and we can discuss those.
Sure. Could you speak to other projects that have happened, other successes that have happened recently with the work of the St. Paul Port Authority?
Yeah, if you look at the history of the Port Authority and you look at within the city of St. Paul, I think we have 23 business centers that are up and running in the city of St. Paul. And some of those properties that are really near and dear to my heart, you look at properties like what is called Williams Hill over on the edge of St. Paul. It was essentially a recycling site, and that is now a completely remediated, renovated business center with several businesses and several hundred jobs on the site. Another project that is more recent for the Port Authority is Beacon Bluff. That's the old 3M World Headquarters. The Port Authority acquired that property from 3M and essentially renovated it, remediated it, got it ready, and we have put several companies in that business center too, and have delivered over 1,000 jobs on that site.
Yeah. Cool. So now that you're president, I mean, you've kind of been in the role for a bit at this point. How do you hope to expand on the work of your predecessor, Lee Kruger, or how do you hope to change course? What do you see as the future of the Port Authority?
Well, JD, I've been officially in the role for a week, 1 week today. And one of the things that I would say is I'm not necessarily looking to change the course of what my predecessor was working on here. But one of the things I am going to do is I'm going to always revert back to the mission of the St. Paul Port Authority and opportunities that come to us at the Port Authority. I'm going to make sure that they actually do match up with our mission around creating the jobs, creating tax base in St. Paul, equitable and sustainable development in St. Paul, and a concentration on river commerce. Mm-hmm. A couple things, if you dig into that a little bit more, one of the first things I've done here is essentially redone the strategic plan at the St. Paul Port Authority. And as projects come in, or as we put together our work plans, I want to make sure that we are working within the guidelines of our strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we really talk about 4 key segments in that. And it's really, our workplace and our customers. It is our products and our services. It is our people and our internal processes. And it's also making sure that we have financial stability at the St. Paul Port Authority. So, on that, when I talk about our marketplace and customers, I want to make sure that we are engaged with our partners in the city in economic development. I have been working hard to maintain and establish new relationships with the city, with the city's administration, with Mayor Carter's administration, in addition to the city council members, also with our state legislators and frankly, the Ramsey County commissioners, and then all of our economic development partners, so they know where we're at with projects and looking for opportunities to partner with them on other projects that we can help with within St. Paul.
Yeah. Tell me about river commerce. What's the significance of the ports to St. Paul or the state?
Well, the significance of river commerce is that if you think about the magnitude of barge traffic on the Mississippi River and the products that can come up and down that river on a barge, whether it's cement or fertilizer, just the sustainability factor of utilizing the Mississippi River as a super highway to the rest of the world in transportation, and thinking about the assistance that provides in keeping large numbers of semis and that type of pollution out of the ecosystem. That's a lot of what the river is about. We have stats at the Port Authority about, one barge of fertilizer or cement is the equivalent of
hundreds of
hundreds of semis on the highway.
Yeah.
So, it's really thinking about that and reminding people that again, the river was here first, and the river is a working river. And, we at the St. Paul Port Authority, as the port itself, that it is our responsibility to maintain those ports and also make sure people understand the benefits of that working river here in St. Paul, in the state of Minnesota, and throughout the United States and the world.
Yeah. How are some of the current events with supply chain issues, inflation, things like that impacting the work that's happening in your organization?
The supply chain really, as our main function and work here is really around, working on the land acquisition of land, remediation of land. We are not actually necessarily the vertical developers. So really where it comes to affect us is if we are responsible now at Hillcrest, we have already seen significant inflation on the costs for us to deliver the Hillcrest project. And that's going to cost more time and money, but it's something that we'll be on top of. Also, when we're looking for partners who are looking to actually develop the land that we are preparing for construction, it's affecting our partners in that place, in that area too, and making things more expensive and a little more time consuming. So timelines that we thought we were once working under, they do take a little more time in order for us to get the work that we're trying to get done completed. So
sure. Is there anything about the Port Authority that you think people should know, most people don't know, or people maybe get wrong? Anything like that?
No, I think the number one thing that I would mention about what I would hope people would take away from what the St. Paul Port Authority is that we are here to assist the city of St. Paul and the state of Minnesota in economic development. Our mission is again the creation of quality jobs, the creation of tax base, and taking distressed or underutilized land and bringing it to a higher and better use, while keeping in mind that our economic development goals need to be both equitable and sustainable.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I don't have any other questions. Was there anything you wanted to add that I didn't ask about?
No, not at this point, but I do thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Congrats on the new role.
Great. Thank you, JD.